was a letter written by Thomas Jefferson, and that letter written by Thomas Jefferson had the phrase, this is a personal letter, by the way, had the phrase to the Danbury Baptists, a group in Connecticut, had the phrase separation of church and state. It's the only time we see that phrase. And that phrase was basically reassuring the Baptists in Connecticut, which they were a minority at the time, that they were going to be allowed to practice their religion. That the government wasn't going to stop them or censor them from practicing their religion. So fast forward back to 1947, Hugo Black goes to a personal letter from Thomas Jefferson, takes that phrase, separation of church and state, and places it in the first legal document in the history of our country, saying, and change the meaning. And what he did is he said, because of the separation of church and state, our government's not going to help these Catholic kids. Okay, don't worry about your opinion about that right now. It doesn't matter. Okay, but he was on the losing side. Now you fast forward to 1962. 1962 is a case called Engel versus Vitale. In Engel versus Vitale, this was an actual prayer that was being said in a New York public school. Very vanilla, very basic, but a prayer nonetheless. And we had some people that didn't want the prayer. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court. In Engel versus Vitale in 1962, the Supreme Court plucked the phrase by Hugo Black in 1947 as precedent to say, and now prayers aren't going to be allowed in school as well. America was obviously becoming more secular. Now, there was an avalanche of cases after 1962 related to church and state. And again, follow the paper trail. Racist, bigoted Supreme Court judge. Didn't like Catholics. A known anti-Catholic. His evidence was finding a personal letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote. Now, guess what? Every single textbook in every single public school, trust me, open up your kid's government textbook. I don't care who produces it. It may not even matter if you're in a private school. And open up to the First Amendment. And what phrase are you going to see in this document? Well, Thomas Jefferson said we had a separation of church and state. Whoa, wait. What did Thomas Jefferson say? Thomas Jefferson wasn't a Christian. Thomas Jefferson wrote his own Bible, taking away Jesus' miracles. This isn't a Billy Graham Bible thumper, folks. This is a guy that did not say that we have the separation of church and state as it stands today. This was a farce from the beginning, and now the little mindless matrix following people in our society today believe that we have a separation of church and state, and in their brains what that means is church here, government here.